What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flacco from a convict's perspective. I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through with that little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, man, and help support the channel, man. So what we're gonna get to right now, man, we're gonna do this, guys. I'm gonna do a little profile about Armando Cuen, man, since he's passed away. We're gonna go up to what's currently happened to him and stuff like that, man. I think it's only right for those that maybe don't know about this individual. I have a couple friends from Delano. Some are indirectly related to him, and some are just friends, lifetime friends. And they've all said the same thing, that despite what he later became in life, whether they agree with those decisions or not, they said that he was always a good-hearted person. He's one of the founding members of when they started the West Side Delano Norteños, WSD, whatever you guys want to call it. He was in the Boys Ranch in the '91. We all know about his case. I'm not going to discuss the case that he caught, right, that led him to prison. But he was, everybody I talked to, he was a good-hearted person. He really cared about people. And what happened is for a lot of these kids, man, out there in Delano, the movie Colors came out and everything just changed. This is when, around that time they started banging Norte. And that's what took him down the path to where he led, man. So, Mondo had a very illustrious career, let's just to say the least. What I'm saying? I'm going to talk about when I was actually in the same pod with him for a couple of years. He's a big boy like me. He's probably about 6'2", 6'3". He's a big homeboy. Big, he was solid. You know what I'm saying? He was, I don't know where he started this time, but I know when he was up in the Bay, man, he was assigned to a special mission to take out Big Smiley, Art Ramirez, from the C facility, D facility dilemmas. And that was supposed to be his blood in to the NF, to the mob. He did make his move on Smiley. I think Smiley's a big boy, man. They did Machine. And even though Mondo's a big dude, like Mondo was about the same size as Z-Bop from Chole. I don't know if you guys know Z-Bop. They're about the same size, around that kind of size. So, it's like someone just sent me a message. He said, we started off as good kids going to school, right? This is someone that just sent me a message about it, man. We started getting locked up. We created the West Side Delano from where we started, hitting Boys Ranch. Eventually, we turned 18, got locked up on a murder charge. You know what I'm saying? That murder case, was not what everybody anticipated it would have been. Things really got out of hand. You know what I'm saying? But let's go back to what with Big Smiley. So he made a move on Big Smiley, and he got his arm broken. He tried. I mean, Big Smiley's a big boy just like him, and he's a lot older. And so from there, he got released from the SHU, and he went to High Desert. At that time, I think he was channeling through Bubbles, Sean Cameron. That was his channel to go to the Bay at. And while he was there, he actually ended up, I think, in High Desert. And I think the person who had the Yavis at the time there was my homeboy from my town, Whispers, I believe. I think he had the High Desert, the level 4 guard, as a Armando. And eventually, he ended up getting validated, Armando Cuen, and he came to Corcoran SHU. Now, the whole purpose for that hit, like I said, was for him to blood letting in. And then there was supposed to be another brigada that was supposed to go down that they wanted him to do over there in High Desert. He ended up in Corcoran SHU, and that's where he ended up in the same pod with me. Me and Silver were in the same pod. And, our interactions were always cool. They were respectful. He moved in my cell for a quick hot second. You know what I'm saying? And he was a good dude. He was cool. The stuff I hear about him later on, I don't know what to believe, because it's not the Mondo I know. So I think that a lot of people try to fucking put certain, labels or titles because of personal agendas they may have. He was cool. He was by the book. The last time I seen him, I came back on a violation in 2006, and he came by. Mondo was walking from the visiting, and he said, "Hey, we got a message for you, bro." I'm all right, and I already knew what it was. It was gonna be enough business going out to the streets. And sure enough, Silver said the same thing. "Oh, I got something for you." And then finally, they sent word. I think he was coordinating that investigation. I think he was the neutral party, and he ended up taking over the RC position later on anyway. Sunbrush got caught up as well, as we all know, and he ended up taking over the interim position of RC for a minute. There was a lot of politics going on, and that's where he started. He was basically he was the second. With the Bay's instructions at that time when he took over, right, which was a couple years after I was no longer active, was that if they couldn't get in contact with anybody in Pelican Bay, they were sending everybody to go through Corcoran. You know what I'm saying? This actually was his order that came out. Mondo didn't put this order out there. because this is when they had to pay, they were doing NF roster pays. So what they were doing at that time was, instead of having a regiment bank, they wanted to fatten up all the C's fucking bank accounts. So they had 3 to 4 man crews, maximum 4 man crews. Technically, they wanted 3 to 2 man crews working out there with under regiment, so they could be discreet. And what they were being given was, they were giving rosters of every institution where NF members were. Even some of the federal guys were on that roster, and they were supposed to start to knock those lists out of names and taking care of each C. And they would be given certain directives which ones would be priority, right? And also in those directions, this is when all the street regiment rules came out. When Chugo started to change a lot of the procedures, the alternative route, if they had to get in contact with somebody, was Corcoran. They were given authorization to go through Corcoran, not to Hatchby at that time. So, you know, he was rising through the ranks. Whereas he was a young C when I first met him. Well, he wasn't even that young. He'd been a C for a minute. He was the last C to be on the main line, pre-validated procedures. I think the only other one was when, what's his name, from Daly City, that was with Rojo, when he got hit. But he was the last one that was ever on the main line until the end of all hostilities, was Mondo Cuen. You would never see a C out there on the yard. You know what I'm saying? And I keep on getting messages from his boy. You know, and up until recently, man, see, the only issues that he ever really had was about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's when he spoke, and he was telling everybody that everybody needed to be under investigation, federal and state, over the leadership fucking plot, over what was going on. And he was trying to get a lot of youngsters to step on back and be put to the side. And they tried to put him on freeze for that for a minute, and under investigation in 2017 or 18, he was placed on freeze, but he got everything cleared up. And it wasn't for no misappropriations of funds. It wasn't for anything like that. It was for fucking questioning the authority of how everything was running, which he was within his right. He got caught up in that, and he was telling homeboys to not get involved, which was the right thing to do. Right? He was telling people not to get involved, and to mainly let them focus on their business, and that everybody's gonna have to answer for this. He was talking about the feds in the state, that everybody was gonna have to answer for it, which was the proper procedure. By 2020, he was on a salary base for the NF organization, which means that he had enough time in the organization that they were making enough money within the organization that he was getting a certain amount of money from the mob every month. You know what I'm saying? Which was, you know, estimated $5,000, I think it was, from what I was told, per month. And you know, there's a lot of speculation whether he was the one that was. He was, at the time of his death, he was the highest ranking NF member in the state within the grading system. He ranked 3. That's within the state C's that are locked up currently in the penal system, and that's 3 out of 4 people that they feel that are leadership positions currently right now in the state. So that's why I think maybe, you know, the state and Fed thing has been brewing up, as we know, a little bit, the conflict. So I was thinking that maybe the whole purpose of why he was going to partake in this hit was if he was ever to get that general status in the future, because he already knows he's never going to come home. He needs to have that body for the mob. Not that he doesn't have any bodies, but he needs to have committed one on behalf of the organization to hold that general position. If you don't have no body, then technically you're not supposed to be no general. Especially if there's other people who've already killed for the mob. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be asked out, because if you're going to go per the Constitution, per the law, you got to have that body if you're going to hold that type of rank of position. Period. There's no, you know what I mean? That's why I think Skip made that movida out there in Louisiana. He didn't have no bodies yet, I believe. No. You know what I'm saying? He caught that body, and that dude was the NF dropout he got. Bulldog and NF dropout. So, anyways, fast track we have today. You know what I'm saying? There was 2 11-inch pieces. You know, the gunner acted on behalf, and there's, you know, there was different conversations I heard that took place statewide yesterday over this hit. The higher ups don't think that there's going to be any type of repercussions from the Norteños over this. I don't know. Norteños typically don't stage attacks on fucking correctional officers, because all it does is bring attention and bad business for them, especially if the yards are good, and you don't want to piss off the other groups either. So who knows what type of action is going to take place? You know what I'm saying? If anything, probably the only thing that would happen would be there may be a green light on that gunner, if they ever get a chance, as far as if he was ever to be a fucking CEO on the ground or anything like that, he may have something to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't hold everybody accountable for one man's actions. And I know that's how the mob's going to think about it. And they're not going to waste their time and energy and resources looking for this dude either. So if he's just doing his own thing, they're not tripping. They're not going to trip off it. You make yourself available and open to where you should be, which is going to be hard. These people don't know everything about your personal life. They're not going to just be seeking all kinds of stuff, right? But that's my personal opinion on that. There's a lot of people who've done worse that are walking out there. And, my condolences to the family. Even though I don't believe in that criminal lifestyle, but I was once believed wholeheartedly in his beliefs. He was a believer in what he did. I was a believer one time. I hope that you guys, cherish your memories that you had with him and the things I know from Mondo as far as a person. He was a good dude. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that his decision making was done in any type of devious behavior. I think he really held true to the beliefs, if that makes sense. He was by the book. If this is what it is, this is what he was going to go by. And that's the type of person he was. If he was committed to you and you were loyal to him and you were a friend, he was going to rock with you. You know what I mean? Till the wheels fall off. And trying to see if there's any other information. I don't want to talk about the past killing, as we already know. There's a lot of different information that goes behind that. There's one other person involved. They didn't end up getting life in prison. You know what I'm saying? That was but yeah, he's going to be a legend out there in Delano now that he's passed. You know what I'm saying? Whether there's not anybody on the active or inactive side that really has anything bad to say about the dude, man. He was a warrior in his time. Whatever he was asked to do, he did. He was sharp, and he was cool. I remember he used to always be thinking like, and he also had that young swag to him though, man. He was still up with the times about being a young, because when you go to the system young, you still feel young even when you're in your 40s and 50s, man. It just happens to happen like that, man. But other than that, man, there's no other information I really have about his case. Like I said last night in the live, if you didn't catch it, it was a dude named Alvarez who was some type of ranking associate, which means who was one that had to go. And he did the hit with an individual named Raz. I don't know who he is, but both of them were pronounced dead. The thing that's interesting is that in CDCR, his name, they haven't done a press release. They're supposed to do a press release, and well, maybe they have by now. I haven't checked, and they're supposed to. He's still in the system. So I also heard. This is what I also heard. This is some inside info. They did not want this story to leak to the public or on social media, but it did. That's another thing that's kind of interesting about this whole case, guys. Anyways, this is your boy Flacco, man. I'm gonna put some pictures at the so I'm gonna try to put some pictures right now at the end of this if I can, and make this so you guys can see a little bit other pictures of him, man. So you guys can go through a little memory of Armando. That's it. I'm gone.